We don't have a proven agenda like some places.
Okay.
Don't lose it.
You know the answer, so you should bring it.
Agenda?
Forget us, just one more layer.
Yeah.
I knew
Some
some.
places
No.
have that.
Okay, are you, when you're ready, let me know.
That's true. I mean,
Yeah, we're live and ready.
administration.
Ready.
Ready.
I call the order for the city of Petoskey, the city council meeting for April 20th, 2026. And I ask that you rise with me for a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you look at the agenda tonight, there was one change that I need to point out. It's under the consent agenda number 6. It states March 2, 2026 regular session, and that should read April 6th. So if you will correct that. I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore,
Present.
Wilmot,
Present.
Nachtrab,
And present.
Walker.
Present.
Murphy.
Present, we have a quorum of 5. Now, this is, normally we do closed session at the end, but I felt it would be important for city council members to meet with our city attorney to get clarification on 2 legal matters that we are working on, and we'll be working on after we come back. I expect that this will not be a real long time. And I think you'll see we'll be back short order. For the first one, I'm going to ask for adoption of a proposed resolution that would authorize to adjourn to closed session pursuant MCL 15.268E to consult with city attorneys regarding trial and settlement strategies in connection with the pending litigation in Lowe versus City of Petoskey, U.S. District Court to the Western District of Michigan, which is court number 1250 CV 01027, for the reason that an open meeting would have a detrimental financial effects on the litigation or settlement position of the city. I ask for a motion for that.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Wilmot. Do I have a second?
Support.
I have a second from Ms. Demore. I'll go to Ms. Beck for roll on that.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. And the second one we'll be doing regarding City of Petoskey with Powell. And I will read that one. It's adoption of a proposed resolution that would authorize to adjourn in closed session pursuant MCL 15.268E to consult with the city's attorney regarding trial and settlement strategies in connection with the pending litigation in Powell versus City of Petoskey. It's in Emmett County Circuit Court case number 24001084331AA. For the reason that an open meeting would be detrimental financial effect on the litigation and settlement position of the city, and to consider materials exempt from discussion or disclosure by statute of under Michigan law 15.266H, specifically identified as a client attorney privilege, written legal opinion. So I asked city council for a motion for that.
So move. Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Knobtrab, a second from Mr. Wilmot. Any other discussion, council? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Wilmot.
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. As I said, for those that got here late walking in, we are going to, normally we put closed session at the end. I felt it was vitally important for the city council prior to have discussions on these 2 matters, which will be following that new business type under new business action to closed session, low action closed session results of Powell. We'll be coming back and taking on those when we return. I do not feel that it's going to be really a long time. I hope you wait. And you'll also understand where we're at with this. So we will be right back. Thank you. Going live.
Yep, we're good. Is that?
Ready?
Yes.
We're back in session for City Council for the April 20th, 2026 City Council meeting. And I have a statement I'd like to read regarding our first thing, which is regarding the Lowe's that we went into closed session. It's the City Council's intentions to preserve the easements of the trail. The City Council has authorized the city attorney to continue discussions with the Lowe's with the intent to preserve existing easements while addressing the Lowe's concerns. I don't know if we have any other city council comments at this point. I guess at this point, if you would like to speak to council, you've heard where we're taking this and where we're at. If you wish to address council, it's your opportunity to come forward, give us your full name. You address city council. You're not talking to the audience, you're talking to city council. Is there anybody who wish to speak at this time?
There's some online, but if you don't know.
Lady with her hand up. What about first come first serve?
Maggie Crum. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Petoskey City Council.
The microphone on, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Maggie Crum. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here regarding the proposed settlement affecting the Little Traverse Wheelway. And it sounds like you've made some decisions, but I agree and urge you not to agree to any terms that risk the permanent loss of trail easements of future public access. This is not just about a one-year funding window. It's about whether we preserve or surrender a long-term community asset. If the city is unable to secure the necessary funds or permissions within that time frame, we risk losing access to a portion of the trail permanently. That is a consequence that far outweighs the short-term pressures of this decision. The Wheelway is more than a path. It is a defining feature of our region. It connects communities, supports local businesses, and offers safe, accessible recreation for residents and visitors alike. The so-called Miracle Mile is not just scenic. It represents the kind of place that draws people here and keeps them coming back. We know the damaged section presents real challenges, but relinquishing easements closes the door on future solutions, whether that's repair, rerouting, or long-term investment. Preserving the easement keeps options alive. Once it's gone, we don't get that opportunity back. I respectfully ask that you prioritize protecting public access and maintaining control of this corridor for future generations. Please do not agree to any settlement that puts that at risk. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
As I repeat, the city council is intent on preserving the easement of the trail. Who would like to repeat that to us again? Anybody else wish to talk? You have an option. Full name and address council, please come up. Thank you.
I'm Kate Scollin. I am a volunteer with the Top of Michigan Trails Council, and I want to thank you for your action this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate. Anyone else wish to speak to council? Does anybody online wish to speak? Okay, Mr. Rowe.
Your microphone.
Thank you, Mayor. Are you able to hear me, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to what the council has said here tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been over probably 40 years ago that I was at MDOT talking to people regularly, and they gave a commitment. They'd get it in 20 years. They did. I don't know that it's stretched out there, but for you to save that speaks so much to the people of this community, the state. And I don't want to repeat what you have just said, but you have to know how much gratitude there is. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else wish to speak to council? Anyone else?
Emily had her hand up.
There is one.
There's an Emily on there.
I know, there's, please thank the council for their support.
Sharon McLean, yeah.
Emily.
Hi there. I too just want to thank you
Please
for
give us your full name.
Emily Meyerson,
Thank you.
520 Cherry Street in Petoskey. I just want to briefly just say thank you for listening to the public. I think you all heard how important this corridor is to all of us. So just thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily. Anybody else wish to speak to council?
There's no more.
Okay. Move on to the next item. It's the action resulting in the Powell closed session council. Anyone wish to make a motion or a discussion at this point?
I'm happy to make a motion, Mayor.
Please, what would you like to motion?
I would make a motion to authorize the city attorney to appeal by right the decision in the Emmett County Circuit Court case number 24-000108-431-AA to the Michigan Court of Appeals.
Do I have a second? Prior to discussion?
I second. I support.
I have a motion and a second. Council, any discussions on that? Does the public wish to weigh in on the city council's action with this lawsuit? Anybody online?
Mayor, I just indicate for the record that the name of this pending litigation is Powell et al. Versus the City of Petoskey. That's the number that I referenced. Thank you.
Anybody online? Sarah? Nobody in public wish to speak? Ma'am, you wish to speak?
I just had a question. So Kate Marshall, Petoskey. So you're making a motion on the action with the Powells, but there was no motion on the action with the Lowe's. Is there a reason for that? It's a technical question.
Go ahead. I know, but you want to say?
Yep, the
It's my-
agenda contemplated action after closed session, and that can include a motion.
I missed that.
Laura, would you address the difference
Sorry.
between the two for me?
The difference, so if the question was, why is there a motion? City council can make a motion anytime during a meeting, and the agenda did have action after closed session on the agenda. Oh, is the question why Lowe wasn't a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a specific filing that's being authorized with Lowe. It's settlement discussions. It's not actually approving anything tonight. Whereas for the appeal, it is authorizing a specific external action.
Okay, all right.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I
Yep.
misunderstood your question at first, Kate.
No, that's all right, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two different horses. I go to Ms. Beck. We have a motion from Ms. Demore and a second from Mr. Wilmot, and I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore,
Aye.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Walker,
No.
Murphy.
Aye, motion passes 4-1. Okay, now we're going to the consent agenda. In April 6, 2026, regular session, city council meeting minutes, acknowledge the receipt of certain administrative transactions that have occurred since April 6, 2026, as well as acknowledge a receipt from the March 2026 revenue and expenditures report, and also acknowledge the receipt of a 2026 first quarter investment report. Council, do you have questions for the city manager this time on any of these? Mr. Wilmot?
Yes, I just have a short question on the revenue and expenditure reports. I will refer you to page 36 and page 40. The page 36 is the Downtown Management Fund, and page 40 is the Downtown Parking Fund, both of which shows year-to-date deficits from the budgeted number. And I'm curious to know, is that a timing issue or are there other explanations?
I'd ask city manager if he knows.
Likely it's timing issues. I'd have to do some research and get back with you on that.
Ms.
Sure.
Walker?
Normally, the special assessment in terms of the operating revenue for the Downtown Management Fund happens in the fall.
Yep.
The third quarter of the year.
Which was approved by city council prior. We approved that several months ago,
And what was the other question you had?
Page 40?
page 40.
It's a timing issue, I would assume.
Yeah,
It's
like,
the same thing. as
likely
well.
the same. We obviously are expending capital, doing the parking lot, park garden lot right now. So revenues obviously will continue to come in throughout the year, but that's why that's kind of in a negative position right now.
Thank you.
Good questions, however. Anyone else has a question? Do I have a motion for the consent agenda approval?
I'll be happy to make a motion, Mayor, to approve the consent agenda and all the numbers and the check register.
Support.
I have a motion from Ms. Walker, a second from Ms. Demore. Any other discussion, council? I go to Ms. Beck, clerk for roll.
Walker,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. Okay, now we get into the city manager's report, and I'll turn that over to city manager. Huh?
Public comment.
Public comment, and we got that. Oh, I've written across it. This is your opportunity to address council with something that you have a concern. If it's something that's on the agenda, you can wait, that would be great. If not, you wish to address council on something on the agenda or another issue that you have or a concern or a comment, you're welcome to step forward, make sure it's green, which I think it is. Give us your full name and we'd like to hear from you. Anybody wish to talk to council at this point? Anybody online wish to talk?
No.
Okay. I was hoping. We'd like to hear from you guys.
I'll speak then.
Come on down.
Go ahead.
My name is Alexander Peacock. I own Peacock Culinary Experiences with my wife. I was gonna speak and then I wasn't gonna speak and now I'm gonna speak. So I just want to thank you for taking the time on the agenda. The lighting ordinance is very important to us. And there have been many restrictions on lighting. Whatever the rules say, we're okay with it. We're okay with if you lean more towards a dark sky, if you lean more towards easing up on some of the restrictions. We're just very focused on fair enforcement of all the rules and all the lighting rules in Petoskey. So for instance, right now, there's all kinds of lighting going on in Petoskey. Unfortunately, we've been told that we can't put our lighting up. We want to have the same exact lighting as some of the other establishments in the area. Unfortunately, we can't do that, and I don't know how the enforcement is working out or how it's being enforced, but we ask you that when the new rules are made or the new ordinances are made, that they just be enforced fairly for everybody, not just people who've been here for 15, 20 years, but even the new kids on the block or the new businesses coming in. We just want everyone to have a fair opportunity at proper lighting. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I believe I would be disappointed. We would all be disappointed up here if things were not across the board fair in how they are. understand that this is a new lighting ordinance. If you are concerned, things that you may be being addressed are those that have our current ordinances on this and not the new ones.
Mhm.
Anybody affected by the new ordinances, there's a grandfather clause in there that
So the-
would also be involved, so.
Yeah, so the grandfather, I tried to read through the ordinance, but it was kind of confusing on the new language. So from what I understand, the original ordinance was written in 1974, and it always said shielded lighting. And now all the businesses downtown don't have shielded lighting. I don't know when that became a thing. But we wanted to just do exactly what all the businesses are doing downtown, and we can't. I've approached the city, and there's no formal process to approving that lighting. There was no permit or anything. People just did it. And I think that might have set a precedence for other people, and they just did it too. But now the new businesses coming in here can't do what other people are doing. And that's where we the rules, it's not about the rules. It's just about being fair to everybody. That's just what we're worried about. Tourists are coming. The summer is coming. Outside ambience is one of the most important things downtown. People go downtown because of the outside ambience. People like sitting under the lights. They like sitting with the music. They like to feel an ambiance downtown. And when some people can do it and others can't, it creates some kind of unfair advantage, I think, in my opinion. But that's all I had to say.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
comments. I appreciate it. Anybody else wish to speak to council at this point? There being none, online as well. We now go to the city manager's report, and I'm turning it over to City Manager Horn for his report.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Few updates this evening. Some upcoming meetings tomorrow night. The Downtown Management Board combined with the DDA will have their monthly meeting. It's tomorrow, Tuesday, the 21st at 6 o'clock in the community room. I did want to also remind City Council about the change in our schedule for the first meeting in May due to the special election that'll happen on Tuesday, May 5th. You did provide us guidance that because of staffing issues, we were able to move that meeting to Thursday, May 7th. So that will be our next meeting. So it's a change from our normal routine. So I just wanted to remind City Council of that. So again, our next meeting would be Thursday night, May 7th at 6 o'clock here in this room. Planning Commission met last week. Wanted to provide a quick update to that. Planning Commissioners approved a request to rezone 224 Michigan Street from OS Office Service to B2B mixed use. That was adopted 5-2. They also adopted the request to expand the parking exempt district to include 224 Michigan Street. That was adopted 7-0. As well as they continued their review of existing zoning, looking at Article 2, which is zoning districts and maps, looking at the intent and purpose of each of the zoning districts, getting feedback from planning commissioners at that meeting as well. Few updates on our spring construction projects. As we all know, Howard Street at Mitchell is under construction. This is Mitchell to Michigan. Just a few updates there. Sanitary sewer work has started. We are completing sewer tie-ins as they are crossed. We hope to have this work completed by the end of the week. Water main work will begin next week. Demolition of the intersection at Mitchell and Howard will happen concurrently with the water main work. This would include curb and sidewalk on the stretch from Mitchell to east of Howard. Demolition of the planter was completed and new footings poured back. The new planter walls will be poured by midweek. The sidewalk around that area will be replaced once this concrete has cured and been backfilled. The Park Garden lot demolition has occurred of the existing parking lot. Curb and gutter and sidewalk along Lake Street has been removed and replaced. The planter area separating the sidewalk from the parking lot has been poured as well. Storm sewer work started today. We hope to have that work completed by the end of the week. So again, just as a reminder for Howard Street, Mitchell to Michigan, where we have a mid-June completion date there. The Park Garden lot is the end of May. Just as a reminder, coming up, we have a special election on May 5th. I'll ask the city clerk to kind of review what's going to go on at that special election.
So absentee ballots are available for everyone that would like them. Those that are on the permanent mail ballot list, staff mailed those out March 25th. If you did not receive it and you're on that list, you can contact my office. Absentee ballots do not get forwarded by USPS, so there are a lot of residents that are gone during the winter months. So if you know of anyone or have heard any comments that they did not receive it, that's probably why. Our office will be open Saturday, May 2nd from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. to issue and receive absentee voter ballots as required by election law. And then all 4 wards vote at the Grand Unity Event Center. Polls are open May 5th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Sarah,
Can somebody turn that microphone off? There's feedback.
thank you.
Thank you.
A few more updates as we're starting to obviously got rid of a significant amount of snow over the last couple of weeks. So we're transitioning to our weekly rubbish collection program. This is coming up in the next few weeks. So if you're west of Howard Street, the first collection date would be Tuesday, May 12th, followed by the next week, Tuesday, May 19th. And then if you're east of Howard, those collections would be Wednesday, May 13th, and the following Wednesday, May 20th. So this is opportunities to clean up around your property after a lengthy winter season. So we encourage people to take advantage of sprucing up their properties, getting rid of materials that has been around, collecting over the winter months. As well, small yard waste. This is cleaning out your planter areas, landscaping, leaves, such. Those pickups have begun on Thursdays. This is starting April 2nd through the end of May. Again, Thursdays at the curb, as well as brush chipping. So Mondays, that continues starting in April all the way through November. So each Monday we'll be making a route around the city, collecting any brush materials that have been pulled out to the curb. So we encourage folks to take advantage of those programs that have started in April. Just as a reminder, we had this on for the last meeting, but want to continue to push that opportunity out for artists locally. The community, Public Art Commission has authorized a call for artists. This is artwork along the Bayfront Park, along the retaining wall, along the wheelway, trying to kind of spruce up that area with paintings. These would be 4x4 paintings that will be provided by local area artists. So that call for artists continues until May 10th, which would be the submission window. And on our website is the link to submit your example of what you would intend to put on that at that location. So we have a few more weeks for folks to take advantage of that opportunity. So we hope to expand that opportunity to local artists in our area. And I don't know, Tina, do you want to run through this or would you like me to?
Either way.
Okay, so the Petoskey Youth Art Advisory Council is seeking members for the 2026-2027 school year. They've put together some recruitment materials that they're going to use in their high school and have an opportunity to engage with other students that may have interest in becoming a member of the Youth Advisory Council. So this would be for students in grades 10 through 12 who reside in or attend school in the city of Petoskey. There is a Monday, May 4th application deadline, so we encourage any students that may have interest to apply to serve on this advisory council. Any further comments, Tina, on that?
No further comments on that. I just want to acknowledge that Monty Lesky from the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council is here tonight. We have those students, as you know, those members attend all meetings. So thanks, Monty.
Very active group. It's really impressive. Tina, that you're working with them. I know you meet monthly at least. And a lot of activity. As far as that art things goes, just to advertise it, I think it's really a great opportunity. If you are an artist, what you would do is put in a proposal. We'll give you a area. You give a proposal, maybe a picture or something of one of your other things that you have accomplished. If selected on this meeting in May, the Arts Commission gets together. If you're selected, you'll receive a 4x4 already primed, already ready to paint board that will be one of those mounted. You'll have a month and a half, 2 months to get it back to us. We will coat it. We'll do a fine finish on this, and it'll be mounted. The purpose of this was we did the tunnel, and there were a lot of people. We had 73 people wanting to do the tunnel. And we feel like it's an opportunity for local artists to exhibit their art that maybe didn't get a chance, or maybe this is one of the first times you've ever exhibited your stuff. But to me, this is a great opportunity to get out there and have your art seen, and it will be up here for several years. We're hoping to include that and build this to probably 32 of these as time goes. So if you have questions, call, but also you'll find Sheila Runes that we've hired to consult with us. It also will be able to give you a lot of information on that. So I hope you take advantage of this, or if you know somebody that, if they live in Petoskey, work in Petoskey, Charlevoix, Emmett County, or they grew up in Petoskey. Those are our only ramifications, other than need to be 18 years of age. Council, anything? Ms. Walker.
Thank you. Thank you, Shane, for your report this month. I had a question from not a resident, but somebody that had wondered if the Park Garden lot renovation included a water retention basin, as was required by Emmett County in their parking lot adjacent to the Park Garden lot, if that was one of the requirements and if that's being installed.
We're doing stormwater work in that lot right now, so that's happening. I'm not sure what was required with the county's project. I wasn't involved in that.
Okay.
But we are doing stormwater work in that parking lot.
And then the second question was in regards to all the meters were removed and scrapped, and so that will be a pay station
That's
lot
correct.
moving
That's
forward?
correct.
Thank you. I do have another question, Mayor, if I may.
Please.
In terms of the weekly rubbish collection program, does that usually go out to bid to haulers to perform that service? We pick it up, I believe.
Yeah, our crews pick it up and then we use, I
GFL?
think it's GFL.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, if GFL, because you work in conjunction with the hauler. So that's why I was wondering if GFL is like, if they're the only ones that get the opportunity to bid, or if it actually goes out to bid.
Good question.
Okay. You don't know. Okay, that's all right. Okay. And I believe those were my questions, just because we had heard back from Resort Township this year that when they went out to bid for their spring cleanup, which they do curbside in Resort Township, that the quotes that they received were so exorbitant that they had to find a secondary vendor to provide the service for them, because GFL has a kind of a lock on that market. And Waste Management would be the other commercial hauler that could provide comparable services, but they ended up going with a third-party small business person to do their roadside cleanup. So I was just wondering if the city had a similar experience, or if those costs of disposal are increasing accordingly.
I can get that back to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Send it to all of us, that way it'll be done. Anything else? There's one hand up. Would you please call on Emily to speak? Whoever.
Hi there,
Yes,
it's
please.
Emily Meyerson again. I just had a question for the city manager on the city manager report. He said that the planning commission rezoned the property. but it was my understanding that it's actually council that rezones it. So did they just make a recommendation to council, and when will it be on the agenda?
Yeah, my report just was recapping the planning commission meeting. And their recommendation was to rezone 224. So that will roll forward to the first meeting in May for city council.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
First reading and second reading.
first reading.
First reading and then second reading following 2 weeks. Next on the agenda, we'll move forward to adoption of a proposed resolution that would approve private Bay Harbor fireworks display permit for August 8th, 2026. I turn it over to City Manager Horn.
Yeah, thank you. This is kind of something that we've had on the agenda, discussed with city council previously, in talking with city council individually. There may be a rethink on this, so that's why it's back on the agenda. And I tried to make this case the first time that we worked pretty diligently trying to get Bay Harbor to comply with the state permitting process, our review process for any sort of fireworks after we had kind of one that went off last, I don't even remember, I was out of town, but I think it was last August. Fairly long event, fairly significant from a noise standpoint. So we really worked very diligently with all the parties in Bay Harbor to try to get this refined, our process refined. And we feel like in this case, the applicant did go through our process. So it was staff's recommendation to, if this is just a one-off and this is the only one we do going forward, then so be it. But we feel like they did follow our process that we kind of worked with them on. But ultimately it's your city council decision on if you want to authorize this, because again, they did follow our process, our procedure as we kind of walk them through. And then how you want to proceed going forward certainly is your decision, and we will get in line once that decision is made. But I wanted to see if there was one additional opportunity to at least review this request.
Mr. Knobloch.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed resolution to confirm that these guys can do their fireworks.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion from Mr. Knobloch, second from Ms. Walker. Other discussions, council, on this matter? Mr. Moore.
So respectfully, while I understand the city manager saying that the procedures have all been followed, the problem that I have with this is that when the ordinance was established, I believe it was in 2019, it looks like there were some real studied effort to establish date parameters for this type of fireworks. These fireworks are proposed to be outside of those date parameters on August 8th of 2026. I'm not comfortable with that because I think it sets a precedent that does not fall within those date parameters. My understanding is that to some degree, those date parameters were established due to the impact of fireworks on some members of our community who may have post-traumatic stress disorder, et cetera. I also am concerned about the environmental impacts of increased opportunities for fireworks, and particularly in this case, these being private fireworks. So since the current ordinance says that we may approve, subject to the conditions to safeguard the public and the dates that have been provided, I won't support this moving forward. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Wilmot.
Thank you, Mayor. I was of the similar position when it came around the first time. But after further consideration and further dialogue with the city in the process that both the applicant and the city went through, conforming to the way that the ordinance is currently written, I decided that my position had shifted and I would support the city in its approval by voting in favor of this particular event. However, I do favor what's coming up on the agenda later, which is revisions to the ordinance to clarify that the dates that are in the current ordinance not only apply to citizen fireworks, but also apply to commercial and display firework applications as well. And I'm comfortable with that.
Mr. Knobtrop.
You know, at our last discussion, we had a lot of talk about the days that were restricted and outside the days, and we had a lot of discussion about that, and we based it on this ordinance that I've learned subsequent doesn't apply to the commercial, it applies to just consumer. And after the meeting, I also got an email from was an ex-council member that told me that all our discussion didn't apply to this permit. While it might have been intended to be all fireworks, it was just the consumer fireworks. So it seems to me that it's reasonable that we give these people the ability to do this. I would also agree with Charlie that the next item on the agenda is worth discussion to making it a little bit wider and a little bit address our other concerns. So obviously I want to support it.
Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Can somebody help me understand again why we're re-voting on this? Why we're voting on this a second time?
I was asked to put it back on for consideration.
But we voted 2-3 to deny, and so which case we did not deny the permit.
No, we did deny.
I did deny it.
Okay, because it says 2-3 to deny, and we actually, okay, so that's correct, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Can I just-
Okay.
I appreciate the delineation that both Mr. Nachtrab and Mr. Wilmot are making. However, I think the spirit and the intention were to keep fireworks within those dates. And I think the reason for that pertains to this application as well, the spirit of it. Thank you.
I think sometimes we have rules and regulations, ordinances that are loose enough that things fall in through there, through the screen. And I think the best thing to do is when you have somebody that has gone and followed and getting permits through the state, qualifications of who would be doing the fireworks, the location, the Coast Guard involved, has gotten all of those. And I feel that it's important for us to realize that times our ordinances are not as strong as they might want to have been, and that's why we are visiting it after this. I'm gonna have to say, you know, like it or not, I'm also gonna support this one-time thing because I feel it's what's right to do for the city, what's right. Am I happy about it? Not really, because, you know, I think there's enough fireworks, but I also see that somebody followed through with the process, and that's why I need to support it. Any other discussion, council? Does the public wish to speak to council before we vote on this? Anybody? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Knobtrap,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Demore,
Yay.
Murphy.
Aye. There's never easy stuff up here. Next is the first reading of proposed ordinance amending chapter 10 of the fire prevention and control regarding fireworks. And I turn this over to city manager Horn for a small update.
Thank you, Mayor. So as part of our agenda back in February 16th, 2026, council did consider 2 applications for fireworks displays, one for the private event, which we just talked about, and the other for the July 4th city Bayfront park display. This led to more conversations about the types of fireworks, including consumer grade versus display grade, and the possibility of amending the ordinance to incorporate the criteria and requirements specified between those 2 different grades of fireworks, if you will. at that meeting, city council did authorize, the city attorney to, draft a fireworks policy contemplating, display grade fireworks. So the existing ordinance speaks, as was discussed previously, to consumer grade fireworks. Again, the city attorney did draft language, proposed language to consider display fireworks in observance of the Independence Day holiday. This would be new language outlining the permitting process for display fireworks. And really based on, feedback that I heard, you previously say that you did not want to get into the mode of considering any sort of display fireworks beyond the two Independence Day displays that we have here on July 3rd in Bay Harbor and July 4th, typically here in the city. So that's what this ordinance contemplates, is essentially it provides language for display fireworks that's in alliance with the Fireworks Safety Act. But the way that we've worded this, and it's under section E, which is page 60 in the packet. So display fireworks shall only be allowed on July 3rd and July 4th, and a permit is required for the discharge of display fireworks. We were hesitating whether to actually use the dates or say Independence Day holiday, because obviously if there's a rain date, we don't want to get into a situation where potentially July 4th is now July 5th because of rain. So I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to massage that language at all, but if you want to really pinpoint it to certain dates, we can do that. But we all know that occasionally it does rain, and maybe these would have to be bumped based on rain dates. But this display fireworks, as it's constructed right now, only allows those over the Independence Day holiday. So open up for discussions. Our city attorney is with us as well, who worked on this language. So happy to answer any questions or feedback.
To be clear, that is also, there is a date when you independently can do fireworks for private fireworks. And those are listed in the December 31st. There are about 12 days that you can do fireworks in Michigan right now that we are adopting as well.
Yeah, those are consumer fireworks, yes. Yep.
If you need those, you can find them on the city website. Mr. Moore.
So under that section E, following up on the city manager's comments right now, and this is for Laura. Laura, could we do something like where it says, this is, I don't know what page number this is.
60?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Page 60, yeah. Under E, if it's, could say something like shall only be allowed on July 3rd and July 4th, or approved weather-related alternate dates, or something like that, to accommodate for the weather situation that the city manager was mentioning.
You could do that, or you could do a slightly larger span of dates, although that could open it up more. So I think the way you have it, assuming that it's always July 3rd and 4th, except in the case of weather, and there's no other variations, then I think, yes, that language would accomplish that.
Can you say that again, Tina?
I have shall only be allowed on July 3 and July 4, or approved weather-related alternate dates. Unless maybe Laura has something she prefers. It's just my suggestion.
I think that works.
Okay, Mr. Wilmot.
I'd like to put this forward as a motion with incorporating Tina's change.
So I think we're just on first reading, right?
Yeah.
We're on the first reading, so we don't need a motion. This is first reading. It will come back
Pardon me.
to us in 2 weeks for adoption, possible motion. Thank you though, Mr. Wilmot, for supporting it and moving it, moving. Mr. Knobtrop.
I have I'm trying to understand something. So if I'm hearing this right, I have 2 points. If I'm reading this right, consumer fireworks, so people can go and get their own fireworks and do it on Memorial Day and New Year's Day and Independence Day, but the professional group can only do it on Independence Day. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Well.
And the consumer
it
fireworks
requires
date
a
are set,
permit.
yeah, the consumer
requires a
firework
permit.
dates are set by state law.
Why wouldn't we have it be consistent with what? Because I understand that the real issue is on the noise and bothering is the consumer people throughout the area, not the professionals. I've heard that several times, but I don't, but I'm wondering, why are we not being consistent with that?
How? Help me out.
So, I mean, I love the notion of some of the rules. I mean, I do. But it would seem to me that if we have, particularly this is our 250th birthday, that it would seem to me that if we have professional grade people that knows what they're doing, working with all the permits, why wouldn't we have those days be consistent with, that we have it with anybody else can do it on Memorial Day and New Year's? I'm not following why we wouldn't keep it consistent. You're gonna have fireworks Memorial Day, New Year's, I can't stand New Year's fireworks going out so why would we allow, and why are we okay with having, if I'm reading this right, we're okay with everybody in town having a lot of fireworks on Memorial Day and New Year's, but the people that are the real serious fireworks and safe fireworks, we're not. Why wouldn't we eliminate it for Memorial Day and New Year's Day too?
Labor Day.
So just point of clarification, are you suggesting there should be more dates for the commercial or less dates for the at-home variety?
What I'm saying, it seems to me that the at-home variety, which has a lot of risk and danger, in my opinion, the date should be consistent for consumer and the professional grade. That's what
And
I'm
you
trying to
can't
say.
reduce the consumer dates.
Say that again?
You cannot reduce or change the consumer dates because those are set by state law. You do not have the authority to regulate consumer fireworks on those dates.
Okay, then it would seem to me, why wouldn't we have the commercial grade be consistent with those dates? 'Cause
And
we're gonna
that's
have fireworks
entirely,
anyway.
yeah,
It's
entirely up
city
to council. Yeah,
And
it's
city
up to you.
council feels that they do not want massive commercial displays of fireworks other than the two that were identified, Bay Harbor and here for 4th of July. And the city feels that that's enough commercial fireworks going off. And you mentioned December 31st. You're only allowed to do that till 1 o'clock that night. It isn't an all day, all night thing. It states December 31st until 1 o'clock in the morning that evening.
And are we allowed, my second question is, are we allowed to have the end time be earlier than 11:45, or is that also mandated by the state?
It's mandated by the state.
Mayor, as a point of clarification, I believe that the way the new ordinance is written, if somebody else wanted to have a display commercial grade fireworks show on the 4th of July, in addition to Petoskey and Bay Harbor, they could apply. But one of the things I like about the new ordinance is it clarifies, the old ordinance said that the Director of Public Safety could approve it. And it only came before the city council because because the city manager felt it needed to come before the city council. This says it must come before the city council, and I like that addition.
Right. Mr. Moore.
So can I follow up though on that public safety aspect? I agree with what Councilmember Wilmot just said. However, under number 2 there on page 60, I understand that public safety is required to go through this permitting process or overview. But is there any value, Laura, to at least adding that into the ordinance as well as part of one of those subsections under 2?
If council wants to do that, we certainly can.
Adding what?
Yeah.
Department of Public
I
Safety
think-
review.
I personally think it would be a good idea just to have that in there as a line.
Says what?
Yeah.
Yeah, the city, it says A, the city clerk or designee shall review the application for completeness. There should be a B point or something that said public safety shall,
Review and recommend.
whatever Laura
Yeah.
deems
Yep.
appropriate.
Yep,
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And then my other question was above on that same page under E1D. What's missing there relative to proof of insurance and
Yeah.
a name? Yeah.
I guess, how much do we want to require? Or do we want to say a commercially reasonable amount? Do we want to put in a fixed dollar amount?
Yeah, I'm having our finance director look into that with our insurance provider. It was $10 million liability. I don't think that's changed, but she's going to look at that and I'll have that for second reading.
Thank you.
Ms. Walker.
And it was 5 million for the one that we just approved versus the 10 million that the city has insured for.
Okay.
I think it needs to be insured enough because I know Charlevoix at one time had their firework explosion and there was one individual killed, one or two, one permanently maimed, with a walk, another one badly, several injured. And I question whether 10 million is gonna cover the tail on enough for insurance on something like this, personally. I have concerns about the numbers. I think the insurance should be higher than that.
We'll lean on our insurance provider to give us that
Okay.
information.
Sounds good. So you good with this? That's for first reading?
Yeah, I doubt that I will support it if we don't keep it consistent with that, but that's my opinion.
Sounds good. You always have a time to change your mind or up to others.
One thing that Sarah and I were talking about today was that.
I do have a follow-up question.
So under J, again, page 60,
Payment of the fee.
because these are public displays, Bay Harbor and Rotary and or the city or whoever continues that going forward, there is an opportunity for a payment of a fee because these are public displays. Do we want to pass that on? I mean, that's part of the language that was put forward, but I don't know what the appetite of city council is to require any sort of, there's not a payment to the state to apply. Sarah looked at that today. So I'm not sure that we would necessarily need to do that if it's a public display on Independence Day. That's up to
Ms. Walker.
Maybe we could consider that when we, during budgeting season, when we're like the schedule of fees and for permits for the city of Petoskey. If once we pass this legislation, like if there, this policy, once they're, at that time to determine if that would be part of the schedule of fees and services for the city of Petoskey to issue this kind of permit, like when you go to get your permit for an Airbnb or whatever the things you're applying for, that
Yeah.
seems reasonable that there's a certain amount of process that takes time. And so if,
I mean, obviously for the city display, there's a lot of local fundraising that goes into that. I don't want to create another hurdle for the community to kind of get through this
Mhm.
bureaucratic process if we don't need to personally, but that's really up to city council.
I don't believe we need a fee. I think it's, most of it, the working is done by city staff and it's, a city fireworks to begin with, so.
right.
The city's gonna charge the city for fireworks or, Rotary if their maintenance involved with it. I think it's,
Because Rotary does undertake the cleanup the next day, so that's like a volunteer effort as well. In making sure that, things.
We could always keep that in there and just maybe put if,
applicable.
if applicable, may be a good way to say it. And that's, if you want to change your thought on that, you can certainly do that.
Well, I don't even think you need it as applicable because it says as set forth for city council.
true.
So if the time comes, just assign a 0.
Why don't we just say not?
I mean,
We can
What we're
take it
doing
and
is, right
remove it.
now, we're doing it is really two things. It's the Bay Harbor on Third and city of Petoskey on
Mhm.
Fourth. both of them are all volunteer money. It's a benefit to thousands of people to watch.
And if we're not looking at commercial grade firework displays, then this really is not worth
Okay.
putting in there.
Okay.
I'd say take it out at this point. The
Yep.
city council wants to revisit that in the future and put this back in. They can always put it back in.
Yep.
Mr. Wilmot.
Yep.
I draw your attention to section 1, number 3, permit holders. That's on the 3rd page. Item B, the permit holder shall be responsible for the complete cleanup and removal of all firework display, unexploded shells, and related refuse resulting from the display. In accordance with what standards? Complete cleanup is kind of arbitrary.
Right, because they're not gonna be able to clean up what's fallen into the water, right?
Well, there may be a standard, a state standard that would address that, but I'm just saying, complete cleanup is very arbitrary.
Laura, do you have something to say on that
Yeah.
for us?
I'm not sure I agree it's arbitrary. I mean, all ordinances are going to be subject to a reasonableness standard. And if there's state requirements, the state can enforce those. From our perspective, if we get out there and half the debris is still there, it's not completely cleaned up. So I think that gives the city the enforcement power it needs to make sure it gets taken care of.
Which may end up have repercussions in future applications.
Sure.
And so that's leverage the city has, the council has, is not cleaned up, then it'll be addressed the next time you make an application.
I can say, and Councilmember Walker can also testify to this, as we've volunteered to clean up after the 4th fireworks. And you can tell when it's not been done because there's debris all over the place. And it's through a number of volunteers that rake and clean those materials up. So certainly if that's not done, it's gonna be pretty noticeable as you're walking through that area.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's see, we did the public weigh in on this already.
No.
The public wish to weigh in on this and speak to council regarding our activities, our first readings on this for fireworks ordinance. Okay, we'll move on. Next is the outdoor lighting. It's the first reading, and it's again, the first reading. There's no motion. It's a reading of a proposed ordinance adding appendix D, which is outdoor lighting ordinance to the zoning ordinance.
John's gonna come
Come
up.
on down, John.
Oops.
City planner.
Hold on.
Please. Go and.
Mayor, City Council, John Icoangeli, City Planner. I'm here to introduce the outdoor lighting ordinance for the city of Petoskey. Sarah, I'll just kind of give you a wave when you can click the slide for me. Go ahead. The purpose for doing the outdoor lighting came about during the discussion on the rewriting of the city zoning code. And the zoning committee felt, much like the Planning Commission felt about the sign ordinance, that the outdoor lighting ordinance needed to be outside of the jurisdiction of the zoning code and part of the police power ordinances for the city. The current zoning ordinance, section 1711, which provides for exterior lighting, only provides general guidance. And there's some statements in here that say that the lighting shall be shielded to reduce glare, reflect lights away, confined to ground areas of lawns or parking lots shall be placed and shielded. Artificial light shall be maintained stationary and constant in intensity and colors at all times in use. The problem is that it doesn't provide the metrics. So when people ask, well, like how intense, we don't really have a lot of measurements that are in the zoning code. The current ordinance does state that the lighting should be dark sky compliant. But as I go through this presentation, you'll see that there's a variety of different dark sky compliant lighting standards. Go ahead, Sarah. The goals of the proposed ordinance that were outlined and discussed by the PC and the zoning committee was to minimize light trespass from building and sites to reduce sky glow to increase night and sky access. The county, Emmett County, is a dark sky county. We're one of the few counties in the United States that actually have an international dark sky park. Third goal is to improve nighttime visibility by reducing glare. And then the fourth standard is to provide industry-based metrics to applicants. The objectives of the ordinance is that the city needs to protect the dark sky. People relish the idea of looking out and seeing the stars and the various parts of the sky, the meteor showers, the northern lights, etc. And the city's lighting requirements should be based on best practices and industry-supported standards. That's what we want to bring into the code. The city needs to provide its applicants that are preparing site plans with definitive industry-based lighting standards that are based on best practices and metrics that are recognized by different professional organizations. And they need to be based on ANSI and EIS guidelines, which are important. The standards that we consulted as part of this come from the American National Standards Institute, which are referred to as ANSI, the IES, which is the Illuminating Engineering Society, who has developed a series of best practice manuals, and the leadership in energy and environmental design from the U.S. Green Building Council. So these three sources were used to create the metrics. All three of these sources interrelate. They correlate with each other because they use each other's standards as part of their own measurement process. The dark sky lighting ordinance really follows 5 lighting principles for responsible outdoor lighting. And these are incorporated in section 1.2 of the new zoning code. One is to be useful in terms of use light only if it's needed, to target and direct light to areas that need to be lit, make sure that the lighting is low level, bright enough to be necessary, but not too bright to be obnoxious, that it be controlled, and that we have a certain coloration of light. There's a light spectrum from very, very orange to very, very deep blue based on your lead bulbs. So you want to have a coloration that is not offensive. The process that we used was pretty unique. The zoning committee prepared the text preparation. It went to the text preparation was done by the zoning committee. Once the zoning committee created its version of the ordinance, it was submitted to Dark Sky Association for their technical review. After that, it went back to the Planning Commission, and we went through this cycle 3 times before it made its way over to the city attorney for Laura's review, and then back to the Planning Commission as part of the public hearing process. I will note that many communities around the country have dark sky ordinances. Emmett County has dark sky, West Traverse, Little Traverse, Harbor Springs. However, not one of those ordinances have been credentialed by the Dark Sky organization. If this ordinance is adopted by the city, it'll be the city will be the first municipality in the country to have an accredited dark sky ordinance. The ordinance is broken up into 4 articles. Sarah. First one is the preface, which outlines the 5 basic principles. Article 2 is the technical definitions. Article 3 is the outdoor lighting requirements that talks about light levels, distribution, light trespass, lighting controls, color spectrum, and the lighting zones and lighting levels for each zone in the city. And then the administrative section. A couple of key definitions that I want to bring up before you is it's called the CCT, which is the correlated color temperature. This is the temperature that's assigned to your light bulbs. If you go to Lowe's and you're looking through the vast aisles of all the different lights and you look at the fine print it'll have what the coloration code is. So a dark amber color is a non-white, and 1800 Kelvin, K, is the color of a candle. The Planning Commission wanted to be right in the middle, so they selected 3,000. And a lot of the LED bulbs that are made now, and sometimes you can see these in some of the newer model cars as well, get into the daylight and the blue rich, which is the 6500K, which is extremely bright and can be somewhat obnoxious in terms of glare. The other definition that's key is the nadir, which is the downward vertical vector. The ordinance requires all the lights to be down, basically shielded and focused down into their photometric pattern, okay? There is another concept to lighting that the Planning Commission didn't want to get involved in because it's too hard to measure, and that's called the bug, which stands for backlit, uplit, and glare. You have to have some really defined measurement techniques to measure the bug. They didn't want to go down that route, so we're sticking with basically the standard, which is the light will shine down on the property or on the pavement or on the site or lawn. In the ordinance, there's a definition for foot candle, which is a unit of illuminance. 1 foot candle of light basically covers 1 square foot of property. It is used to measure the intensity of light falling on a surface. So 1 foot candle equals 1 lumen, okay? And a lumen is a unit of measurement in terms of the total light output. So these are some of the technical aspects of the ordinance that lighting engineers and light designers are very familiar with. So for example, a typical 60-watt incandescent bulb basically generates 800 lumens of output. The next slide is on the application. The application of the new lighting ordinance, if it's adopted, applies to all lighting that's installed after the effective date of the ordinance. Existing outdoor lighting that's in place currently prior to the effective date is basically going to be considered non-conforming. The idea is as light is replaced, as new construction is allowed in the city, as property is reconstructed, as property is rezoned or goes through site plan review, then the provisions of the ordinance would be implemented at that time. The interesting part of the lighting ordinance is lighting is not constant or consistent throughout the community. There are 3 different lighting zones that are applicable to the city of Petoskey. There are 5 lighting zones that are recommended by the dark sky system. Lighting zone 0 is primarily, it's not applicable here because that's reserved for wilderness, national, and state park areas. But lighting zone number 1 is low ambient lighting, usually found in residential, multifamily, and industrial properties. LZ2 is moderate ambient lighting. This is for business districts, colleges, and hospitals. Lighting zone 3 is primarily for your business corridor along 131 and 31. Lighting zone 4 we don't have because that's reserved for large urban areas, which the city does not have. When we map this out based on the zoning code, the next slide shows the map. So the majority of the city is in the low ambient lighting because it's residential classified property. The modern ambient lighting, which is the yellow, is the college campus and the hospital properties in some parts of the downtown area. And LZ3, which is moderate ambient lighting, is for your commercial corridors along US 31 and 31. The ordinance has, based on each of the lighting levels, there is a lighting table that corresponds. This is the lighting level for LZ3. And it has the current zoning districts, B3, B3A, B3B. And it has the lighting requirements for building entries, walkways, drive canopies, vehicular drives, and parking areas. And these are all site-related elements that the Planning Commission is usually referencing as part of their site plan approval. It has a minimum and has an average lighting of in-foot candles, which is easy to use for the lighting engineers and the lighting designers in terms of developing their photometrics. We did have an opportunity to actually use this application, if you want to flip the slide. During the review of the proposed or the current Jimmy John's, which is under construction on Mitchell, US 31 near the Bay Urgent Care Clinic, we find that national franchises ask the appropriate questions. When they ask if you're using dark sky lighting, they show us the standards. Give us what your photometrics are, and we will meet those. Well, during the Jimmy John's, we were in the process of going through the third iteration of the ordinance. The ordinance does say that they have to meet dark sky standards. So we provided this table to the Jimmy John's engineering, and they came back with the photometrics. So they used lighting table LZ3, and they came back, and this is their photometric sheet. You'll see in the narrative, which is hard to read, and I have it blown up in the box, is they're using a D-Series Luminaire P3 performance package. Here's the 3000 CCT, the correlated color that's specified, and they're using an extreme backlit control. Now, based on the photometric plan that they gave us, their parking lot average is 1.1 foot candles. The ordinance is requiring 1.5 to 2, so they met that standard. The minimum is 0.2 and the ordinance is 0.6, so they met that standard. Property lines, they met the standards, the minimum, the 0 foot candle cutoff at the property line. The other part of the ordinance is control, and they met that. The parking lot lighting will be turned off 1 hour after closing. So the parking lot lights go off 1 hour after closing, with the exception of lighting that's used by their doors or their delivery areas that can stay on all evening. Other requirements that are in the proposed ordinance is that certain waivers can be granted based on public safety concerns. As part of our development review process, part of the team is public safety and the fire marshal. And if they feel that lighting should be a little bit more brighter or intense than what's currently allowed under the ordinance for public safety issues, we can make those modifications. Mr. Peacock was up here talking about string lights, Tivoli lights that they use, like for example, over at Beard's, they have the lights outside. A couple of the other restaurants have lighting. The difference that many of those businesses have, they have basic off-the-shelf festoon lights, but they're not shielded, okay? Now, the lights at Panera Bread, again, I'll use the analysis. The national companies, when they come into town, their engineers are a lot more sophisticated relative to going through a checklist of all the city requirements. So with Panera, they noticed that all lighting has to be shielded. So their festoon or their string lights all have little shields on them, whereas some of the businesses downtown do not. Under the proposed ordinance, we're going to get away from the shielding, and we will allow the festoon lighting, 0.7 watts per bulb, 25-foot candles per string, the lamps less than 50 lumens. So people pretty much can, like Beard's, those type of lights that are unshielded can be used downtown without going through the extra requirement. There is lighting levels for building facades, special lighting for outdoor sport events areas like ball fields, football fields. We do allow landscape lighting. Electric message boards centers are going to be managed through the sign ordinance. And we do have a provision that seasonal lighting is allowed, not regulated, but allowed from October 1st to February 28th in order to include Halloween and Christmas lighting that goes on pretty much consistently during that time frame. To give you an example, we went out and tested a few locations to see how some existing businesses compare to the proposed lighting standards. The BP gas station is at, their foot candles under their canopy are 39.5. The ANSI IES dark sky standards are between 20 and 30-foot candles. The Arco gas station, which is across the street from the BP, they're at 20, so they hit the standard. The Marathon gas station is at 52, and it should be between 20 and 30, and as one member of the zoning committee mentioned, at 52.2-foot candles, you could actually do outpatient surgery underneath their canopy. It's so bright. The Fifth Third Bank is at 26, so they meet the standard. The college temporary trailers, which are kind of on the perimeter across the street are some residential properties. Theirs is 3.4, it should be 3, so they're pretty close. And near their dorms, because it's residential, it's 4.2 and it should be 3. And then Kalamazoo and State Street, which is a street light, is at 2.7 and it should be at 2.6. One of the questions that came up is this going to mean our streets are going to be darker? No, they are not. The city currently uses a light from Streetworks. The icon in the far right corner, which I blew up, the light is already dark sky approved and compliant. In terms of the photometric plans, hit the next slide, Sarah. Photometric, this is a photometric plan for the street light that's used in town, and you can see what the coverage is. The average recommended by EIS and ANSI is 2.6 foot candles per average, and based on the city specification sheet, which they currently use, they hit 2.6. So the city lights that they're currently using, even though the color correlated color temperature is at 4,000 K, it still meets the ANSI standard, so there'll be no reduction in street lighting. We did have the DPW review the ordinance, and they said they could definitely comply with it, and they already are in terms of the street lighting. So in summary, that's kind of a quick overview of the ordinance. As I had mentioned, it provides standards that are based on best practices and industry standards relative to outdoor lighting. And it provides applicants with the metrics that they need in order to provide the correct amount of lighting and controls. Do you have any questions?
Questions, council? Mr. Wilmot?
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Planning Commission and the Zoning Review Committee for putting this forward. But more than anything is for getting down into the weeds and really making it technically viable. If I am to understand correctly, the national chains that you've had experience with really appreciate these standards to make their life a little easier.
Yes, they do.
Secondarily, you showed some local areas where the measurements were taken, and one example that you gave a couple of slides ago was the residential area of the college. Now, that might be a case in point where public safety would weigh in and say there are certain areas that need to be brighter.
That's correct.
Excellent work. I support it 100%.
Would you share with us our point? Because I think it's a very educational and would bring us better up to snuff with what we're looking at.
Certainly, Mayor, I will. And the one other last comment I wanted to make before we get into questions is that if the ordinance is approved and it does get certified in its current form, it is accredited by the dark sky. But I think the one thing that goes part and parcel with this is that at some point in time, we need to put some community education materials out on the city's website. Basically, that explains this in a little bit more detail and where they can get, how they can look when they go to Lowe's or Home Depot, where they need to look for the different emblems and logos that say things are dark sky compliant. I will say that over the last 10 years with LEED from the U.S. Green Building Council, ANSI, EIS, this whole phenomena about protecting the dark sky, a lot of the lights that are now available for outdoor lighting are already dark sky compliant.
So just one point of understanding, I think I do, but the Jimmy John's example. So since the IES and the ANS standards are incorporated into this, this would be within the expectation of businesses, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And then the only concern I had in this was on page 66 with the exception B2. It says when a property is rezoned for a new land use or an existing building is reconstructed. I was kind of thinking that there may be some lack of clarity of what we mean by reconstruction. In other words, if I'm just remodeling a part of my house, or do I have to rebuild the whole thing? And I saw that it wasn't defined, so I thought I would raise that.
That's a good question, councilperson. I think the planning commission's thought on reconstructed was if somebody was buying a property, demolishing what was there and then reconstructing on the site, they would have to comply.
So my only suggestion was maybe having a definition or adding some clarity to
We-
that. I
we-
think that would be a good idea.
We can do that.
Yeah.
I'll get with Laura
Thank you.
and get some proposed language.
Would it be possible to tie that to issuance of a building permit? When a building permit is issued?
We can, but the one thing that I think the one thing that the planning commission they wanted to travel softly on this. They don't want to be too, for example, somebody wants to remodel, put a new garage door up, and they have to get a permit to put the garage door up. Planning commission felt at the time that people didn't have to make modifications to their exterior lighting.
Understood.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we kind of want to wanted to go slow. The real focus on here is primarily site development work. Like, I wish I'd have had this for Maple Block because the developers and the engineers from Maple Block asked us what was the photometric targets. And I really couldn't give them anything other than referring them to the current ANSI EIS. Same thing with like Jimmy John's followed it, Panera followed it. That's where this really is beneficial to new development.
Yeah, in follow-up to your comment about public outreach, which I support entirely, I think perhaps you should include local contractors and retail establishments, Home Depot, Lowe's, so that they are all on the same, everybody has the same level of information as to what the city is going to require.
Yes.
Laura, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I was just going to add, Councilmember Demore, I agree with that point, and I wonder if we could even tie it so it's consistent with the amount of reconstruction contemplated under your general provisions for non-conforming uses, right, or non-conforming structure, which I think is a 60% standard. But I can get together with the planner and we can put together some more definite language that's consistent with the rest of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you.
Anything else, Council? Mr. Natra?
Just one question, you know, our country was just captured by either the kidnapping or the murder of the poor lady in Tucson. And part of what I've heard is because they are so dark sky conscious, the Ring cameras didn't work as well. Is there any concern of the public safety aspect of this, that if there's any criminals walking around at night, any of this is going to inhibit? I know we have the exception, but I'm just, like the whole neighborhoods, was there any discussion?
Yeah, there was, but the bottom line is, Councilman, I think the Tucson example with the kidnapping, that subdivision that was up in the hills had no lighting whatsoever. The city has a pretty nice street lighting system where I think most people don't want it any darker than what it is, but they also don't want it any brighter than what it is either. So I think the Department of Public Works has really kind of hit a really good sweet spot here in town relative to ambient lighting at night.
And I echo that you did a great job. I think the group did it and it was easy. Your presentation, I could understand it. So I appreciate you
Thank you.
talking down to people who can't understand like you do.
We had to go through an educational process ourselves.
Were you part of that development?
Early stages. But I also want to do a shout out to not only the planner and the rest of the Planning Commission and Zoning Committee, but in particular, Ted Paul really got down into the dirt on this and helped with a lot of the details. So my hat's off.
Ms. Walker?
Thank you, Mayor. So will this be enforceable?
Yes.
Okay, and how do you envision that working?
the city recently acquired a light meter that's, that meets, would meet the threshold of if we had to do a citation, that the meter is sensitive enough that if we had to do an enforcement issue, we have the
So
capability.
that would be on the part of our enforcement officer.
That's correct. And the zoning
And then
administrator.
I have a second question. So does this mean that we're phasing out metal halide and high compact fluorescents because they don't meet the lumens or the standards? And are we talking about
Well,
only LED bulbs moving forward?
yeah, LED, the 3,000 coloration is LED. I mean, the city's currently, the street program is using 4,000. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference unless the lights were next to each other. The colors are so close. But yeah, we'd be phasing out certain types of like high pressure sodium, which is in the amber color.
Right.
You don't really even see that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was just assuming that's because the city is already, the DPW has done that over time.
Yes.
So metal halide, the high pressure sodium and the high compact fluorescent lights. Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Public wants to speak on this question. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Sir, come on up and Steve, give us your name and address council.
Stephen Hayes. I live on Bay Street, 512 Bay. And I just would like to say that the street light, okay, Stephen Hayes, 512 Bay Street. I would just like to say that the light on the corner of the intersection of Bay Street and Williams, they replaced that light a few years ago. And it's noticeably brighter than what it used to be. And it is so bright, it's like, I feel like I am in a spotlight when I walk out of my front door at night. And I share this, my opinion is shared by my neighbors too. Everybody that I've talked to comments, it's just too bright. Maybe it's the temperature. He says it's 4,000 degrees and they recommend 3,000. Maybe that would do the trick. I was just out in California visiting my daughter last fall. She lives in Alyssa Herrero, which is just south of Los Angeles in Orange County. And they've got, they look the same, these streetlights, but it's a much warmer temperature. And it's very, so much nicer to experience those lights. So I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. And when it comes time to change those light bulbs, maybe we could consider putting a little less, bright light in there. Thank you.
Mr. Hayes, could you give me that location again? State corner?
I live half a block from Williams Street and Bay Street corner.
Okay.
There's also a possibility you need a shield there, it could be.
Well, it's pointed straight down. Yeah.
Still be possible. But
Yeah.
let them take a look at it with Public Works and see what we can do.
That'd be great.
And you raise a very good point.
Yeah.
Mr. Eichel, Angeli, could you address, there was some early discussion about adding complaint-driven requests to the ordinance is that being addressed in the ordinance as it stands? So if there is a complaint about something existing with a non-conforming property, how will that be addressed, Mr. Planner?
Back to you.
A complaint would be addressed by zoning administrator and the code enforcement officer.
We do have a citizen request, general email that folks can provide to staff. So we follow up on those, whether it's even a street light that's out. So I would encourage people, if you see a street light out, we're not in and around all the time. So if you see something out, let us know. We'll address it very quickly. So there's a process that folks can chime in.
So in this case, for instance, if this new ordinance is enacted and there is a complaint about a porch light that is lighting up the neighborhood, even though it's non-conforming, how will it be addressed?
If if we get a standard complaint that comes in through the city, they usually come in either through the zoning administrators department or they come in through public safety enforcement through Tony. Then the city always responds to the complaint.
I understand, but if it's non-conforming under the new ordinance, do you have any
If
right to tell them to
yeah,
change it?
if the complaint, my opinion would be if the complaint is reasonable, if somebody is like shining a light instead of down sideways and it shines in somebody's bedroom, keeps them up all night, then the way the ordinance is set up, if the complaint is justified, then the person would have to
So
change the light.
You're happy with the language as it stands, that you
Yeah.
have the enforceability?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just like any other zoning code, enforceability.
Council, this up, sir.
Good evening, Alexander Peacock again. I had a quick question. I don't know if anybody can answer that for me. It talked about festoon lighting. Are festoon lighting, is that shielded or unshielded? Because I know that there was a lot of conversation about the shielding of lighting in the dark sky. I didn't know if the festoon lighting, I know there's two different types. I know they can be shielded or unshielded. I didn't know if that was,
You said that.
John, would you answer that question?
Currently, festoon lighting, if you apply the current zoning code, it needs to be shielded. So if you go to Panera Bread and you sit outside and you look at their lights, they have the little lights and they all have little shields on it. Light goes down. Under the current code, they don't have to be shielded, but the light has to be between half of a foot candle to 2-foot candle, not to exceed 25 lumens per string. So really don't care if it's shielded as long as the lighting levels are ambient enough and the string lights are turned off 1 hour after the business closes so they don't stay on all night.
Anyone else wish to speak? Actually, how's that, or call them, set up an appointment time, probably. Will you guys work it out?
Just ask one question.
Yes, Demore.
I wonder, following up on Councilmember Wilmot's question, I really don't see where that is addressed in here, and I don't need you to hunt for it now, but if somebody could give us a reference to where that situation is addressed.
Complaint on non-conforming.
Yes, I didn't see it, but maybe I missed it. Thank you.
Four point two A.
4.2A.
What page?
John, did you hear the question?
I'm looking at it.
Okay, I wasn't.
4.2.
It's
Of the alleged violation.
No, but those would be violations. Those would be for things that fall under this.
Right, and it doesn't address non-conforming.
It's on section 1.3 applicability, B, 1.3 B. Existing outdoor lighting lawfully installed prior to the effective date that does not meet the requirements shall be considered non-conforming unless the following occurs. The first one is a determination by the city that the outdoor source constitutes a public safety
Got
hazard,
it. Or constitutes a nuisance.
a nuisance.
Yep, thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
Public wish to speak, anything else?
I have a question, Mayor.
Ms. Swanner.
Thank you. John, I did have another question. Would like active construction sites be exempt from the lighting ordinance?
That would be part of the discussion during the site plan review. I would say, depending on the scope of the construction project, if they have a lot of outdoor goods, that they would, usually the contractors would like that area lit up at night. So yes, it would be, yeah.
And hence the reason I'm asking, because I live right above Maple Block and it's fully illuminated 24/7.
And you could see why. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment out there.
Yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
Anybody else? There being none, because this is a first reading, we will move it on to the next opportunity, which will be 2 weeks from now. So we're now moving on to With three left, first reading of proposed ordinance amending chapter 21, traffic and motor vehicle regulating bicycles. Please.
So this is a continued discussion as well. We had this conversation back in July of last year, really with the concern of bicycle traffic within the central business district. Really, the focus is, and always has been, around businesses, folks riding bicycles, interacting with pedestrians as people are coming in and out of businesses in the central business district is a concern and has been a concern and remains a concern. One thing that we tried to really listen in on as folks chimed in was, well, how would a bicyclist get through the area? So initially, the Park Reserve District, which included Pennsylvania Park, was included in the original ordinance. We have removed that out of this ordinance to allow folks that are bicycling through downtown to remain on the downtown greenway, kind of above Pennsylvania Park, to kind of get back onto the greenway at Howard and continue traversing through the community as an option for city council to consider. But again, the focus really is within the central business district. Bicyclists that are on the sidewalk, that are interacting with people coming in and out of businesses is a significant concern to business owners and downtown management board members. And so this is back before you to hopefully we can resolve this issue before we get into the heat of our busy season again downtown, because this is an ongoing concern that we have and have experienced. So happy to answer questions, feedback at this point.
Assuming passage of the current language as written, what kind of public notice is there going to be? Is there going to be new signage? Is there going to be, how are you going to try to notify people of the beginning and end of the walking, no bike area?
Yeah, I mean, I think improved signage, and again, I think we've been so intent on signage that blends in with our surroundings that I think we have not gotten folks' attention sometimes with whether it's pedestrian crossings or, you know, we do have sidewalks restricted, pedestrian use only, but they do a great job of blending in with the signpost, with downtown. I just think we need to be a little more visible with our signage and meet the standard as far as, you know, the brighter colors. It might not be attractive, but we need to get people's attention on what we're trying to accomplish here, whether that's pedestrian crossings or restricting bicycles on the sidewalks. Just more signage and more signage that is highly visible, I think is important. And then, as you mentioned, the education campaign of alerting people to this, getting out on social media, you know, using downtown. They have a great network of people that they cast social media posts out to. So Missy does a great job of making sure that folks are alerted to changes. So using that platform to really get the word out effectively.
Mr. Navtar.
Actually, as I read it, it seemed reasonable, and I kind of liked it. The question I have is, I recall in a couple meetings ago when the young man came in and did a little presentation. He talked about his experience, and he was driving to work. And I got the impression that if we did this, it could force more bicycle riding into the street, creating a hazard. Is there any worry about that in this situation? I actually understand why we're doing it. I was initially not as much on it, but now I totally understand it. but do we have any risk of increasing risk of kids, teenagers riding their bikes in the streets now in Central Business District area?
And they can certainly have bikes in the central business district. What we're asking for them to do is get off their bike and walk their bike.
Can they go on the, can they ride
They
on?
can always go on the street. Yes.
And you can ride on the bike path.
Yes, the greenway,
Not-
yes.
Not through Pennsylvania Park.
Oh, yeah.
So
Bike path
You can.
through Pennsylvania Park, you
Yes.
can't ride a bike on.
They changed.
above,
Okay.
up above, not along
You're
Park
saying
Avenue.
Up above, you're talking by the.
And on this,
Depot, the monuments, that's through the park.
So
Yes.
can you ride,
Oh,
or
no.
can you not ride there?
It's in
You
here.
can, well, they're saying that you can ride.
No.
With this ordinance, you'll be able to ride.
Is that what they're saying?
That is what I'm.
I've read it
yes.
completely differently.
Park Avenue, the sidewalk that we expanded
Correct.
would not be allowed to have bikes to ride your bike.
But the greenway sidewalk that goes through Pennsylvania.
That's how it's
Park would be allowed.
contemplated right now.
I don't agree with that.
And I don't
And that's
agree
why
with
it's on
that.
for your consideration.
Ms. Demore.
Yeah, and that's the concern I have because I'm thinking about, I mean, we got conflicting needs here, folks who are on the bike path and want to keep going. I get that.
Yep.
But when you get to the part that's between Bay Street and Lake Street, there's those big bushes along there. I don't know how to explain this in a
The
better
hedge.
way, so bear with me.
Cedar.
And then in the center of that is where people pay for their parking, right? And I just have this vision of bikes going by and people exiting there, you know, and getting clunked by a bicycle going by. So I don't know the answer. I'm just expressing a concern about how that would work or not work, as the case may be.
Ms. Walker.
yeah, you're totally right, because that's my daily commute. And the intersection of that parking lot and also the hedge by the sheriff's office, total blind spot. And the hedge is so high that like near misses has happened frequently.
I also see pedestrians on the, kids on the cannon, so we're gonna be racing bicycles by the cannon, with kids on the cannon or by the cannon. The monuments,
Hopefully we're not racing, but
well, what's gonna stop them? What, are you gonna put a speed limit on it?
you can restrict it.
And
that's
then,
your
and how do
that's
you
your
enforce
prerogative.
that?
Well, I think if the ordinance doesn't restrict it, we can't enforce it.
No.
But
You
if the
can make any
ordinance,
changes to
if-
this that you
I
desire.
would support changing the ordinance to make sure that in the downtown district, everybody gets off their bike and walks. Understanding that the enforcement of this is really intended to keep people safe. And I don't expect that public safety is going to be out there with patrols in the middle of October, ticketing people that happen to stay on their bike over through the course of the Greenway. On the other hand, God forbid there's an accident, there really needs to be teeth in the enforcement.
Mr. Moore.
I was just gonna say, in defense of the city manager, I mean, the last time this came before us.
Right.
And it was drawn so that people could not go through. You weren't here, I understand. There were a lot of people who are bicycle people who were very upset about the
About that.
fact that you have a bicycle route, yet in the middle, it's interrupted. So it's
Gives them an
to
opportunity.
a degree
slow down,
problematic.
sure.
Trying to make this a walkable community
Absolutely.
and a safe community, and you still can bike. The only thing you have to walk is 2 blocks with your bike.
You just ride on the street,
Or ride in your street around those 2 blocks.
navigate the doors opening.
Mhm. So this is the first reading.
Can we have that, can we you see if council
I
would
can
like
do
to
it.
have that change made?
Consensus of, how do you feel about Pennsylvania Park? Do you feel we should allow bicycles in Pennsylvania Park or not? Mr. Knobtrob.
So I think during the summer peak times, I get I get the walking and the safety. If it's in October or if it's in April, is
Nobody's gonna
that,
get-
But you understand,
is that where it's,
but here's the deal. I think it's not fair to people to say, Now, this day you can, and not, next week, tomorrow you can't, or those date things. I think you need to be consistent, and I think we need to trust public safety and the city staff that they're not looking to collect money by ticketing people riding a bike in November, or October, or April, but they're looking at enforcing when there are people there.
So we're basically making an ordinance 12 months a year,
Yes.
but telling public safety it's okay to not enforce it when it's not practical. I mean, that doesn't seem to make
We're
sense.
not saying that.
Not saying that.
So, because I'm trying to understand when we would be enforcing it and when we wouldn't be.
Years ago, we had an ordinance on playing baseball in Pennsylvania Park. You weren't here. It was years ago. There was some issues with kids playing baseball, softball, hardball, bats. There was things going on like that. And the city decided to put an ordinance that said, you can't do that. And it was understood that the police officer would say, hey, go down to the next park down there where there aren't a bunch of people. Let's try to, we cannot allow this with small children, picnic tables, et cetera. And that has always worked fine to this point of giving options to the enforcement of it, but yet not looking at the hard hand of every time we're gonna nail everybody.
Yeah, I think you just have to, I mean, public safety does this every day. They use discretion.
Yes.
If it's somebody we've talked to several times and they can keep doing it, then maybe we need to take a little harder approach. But if somebody just didn't understand or realize, give them a warning. It's an education process. And I think we have to rely on our staff to do that.
And I trust our public safety to do that.
And I do too.
Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering if we continue with the theme of the Rails to Trails program and the railroad tracks in Pennsylvania Park become a pathway for bikes to go through. That way they're not on Park Avenue on the sidewalk, and that way they're not up by the monuments in that narrow sidewalk. So would that be a happy medium, and is that part of the CIP for Pennsylvania Park to convert those rails to a trail following par for the course to the south and to the north?
Yeah, I don't know that I can answer that right now. I don't know if that's the plan to convert any of that to a bicycle path.
I visited the pulling out of the railroad tracks in the past, did along with the cannon, and I
Yeah,
don't think
I
that.
Was part of the
I enjoyed my
in the
job.
survey.
He enjoys his
I
job.
would-
I enjoy my.
I want to be here.
Oh, because people don't want to get rid of the rails in
We-
Pennsylvania Park. They're really
We're
attached
going-
to that.
Yeah. Mr. Moore.
So this is just by way of dialogue. I'm not saying we should do this, but one thought I had, and does this help any? If we were to go ahead and like designate that cement walkway, so to speak, that goes along the bushes between Bay and East Lake for only bikes, and then put up some kind of little green appropriate fencing there so people don't go from the parking situation into the bike lane, and then ask that people walk through Pennsylvania Park. Does that help anything at all?
So you're gonna ask people not to walk in front of the war memorials?
No, no, no.
That,
No, not
the
there.
sidewalk goes straight through the war
I'm
memorial.
not talking about, I said.
Talking about the
Just the
bike
one
path.
block.
Right, so that they could continue on that one block, then you just have to walk one segment. Again, I'm not proposing it, I'm putting it out there.
There are walkers and bikers that use those
Mm.
trails that path from Bay all the way down to Bayview. And so you heed, on your left, on your right, like people communicate with one another, bikers and.
Could we
walk-
address your concerns coming off the Elks lot with signage like caution or
Yeah.
watch for crossing bicyclists? I don't know, but we could potentially do some signage there that alerts people that don't just step out here because there could be cross traffic coming. I don't know, but.
Either.
Well, I would prefer to just encourage people to get off their bikes and walk them those 2 blocks.
We were trying to make a compromise based on what we heard.
Understood, but, yeah.
You don't want to come.
Not getting out of it.
I tend to agree with Mr. Wilmot.
You've got some comment.
Let's go as is. So basically, are we saying for the next meeting, we're gonna be bringing this back?
The Park Reserve District language back in there.
I would support that.
So would I. Okay,
Speak up.
yes,
I did speak up.
Okay,
okay.
gotcha.
So now it's the time for the public to weigh in. If you'd like to come up to the mic, come on up. You don't have to give your address if you don't wish. All you need really legally is just your first, last name, and the mic's yours.
Thank you. Mary Jean Meyerson. Okay. Mary Jean Meyerson, Petoskey, East Lake Street. As a biker, somebody who bikes almost every day that I can, I almost biked down here tonight. I fully believe in the bike path and the bikeability of our city. It's just amazing. Except last summer when you started putting up all those signs that were super unfriendly. I understand your concerns about public safety, but I think there's a happy medium that can be achieved with signage, and it would be great to have a dedicated bike path. We spent so much money building that new, really lovely sidewalk right along the buildings in Pennsylvania Park. And yet there's no bike path that connects the bike path that goes all the way from Harbor Springs to Charlevoix through the city. And so I support your proposal to allow bikes to continue to bike through there. As a commuter who bikes all through there, I would love to not have to get off my bike if it's not necessary. I think people are pretty intelligent. If there's a lot of kids and a lot of people on the bike path, they'll hop off their bikes and walk through when it gets really crowded and it's in the summer. And they just won't go that way in the summer. But it's a bike path. Like, that's the bike path. And I can't believe that the city's gonna not allow bikes to be on the bike path. As far as biking through town and on the city sidewalks, I support that. It is a little scary though when you get off the bike path and cars are opening their doors. There's not a lot of space for bikes to maneuver with the town traffic in the summer, and that's just a concern. But I fully support bike path, and I also would like to support not getting rid of, I saw something in the ordinance about roller skates and other like scooters and stuff on the bike paths. And maybe that was just down here. I'm not 100% clear on what that ordinance was about, but like that's where families all go with little kids on scooters and rollerblades and things. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was
What you're talking about.
Downtown
yeah.
sidewalk.
the promenade or something?
It's downtown sidewalks.
No, it was down by the Bayfront. It said
Oh, on the-
Bayfront Promenade.
That would be the brick pathway
Yes.
between the clock tower and the tunnel. So
Okay,
that-
like where all the little kids take their scooters
Pretty much.
on to get to the playground that's at the end of that pathway. I mean, I agree, you don't want, and I really strongly dislike all those electric bikes that don't even require you to pedal, and those should not be allowed on the bike path. And my understanding was that they're not allowed on bike paths, but you see them all the time. But people who have electric assist bikes and kids on scooters and kids with little pedaled bikes, I think should be allowed on all of those paths. So, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to council?
Stephen Hayes. It's really nice when I'm almost like the only one here from the whole city, so I get pretty big voice, right? So I bicycle quite a bit, and in my opinion, you should not ride your bicycle on a sidewalk, period. As far as if you want to ride through Pennsylvania Park, I would think a 3 mile per hour speed limit might be something to consider. Otherwise, I think as far as biking through Petoskey, most people out for a recreational bike ride are not going to be riding through town. They're going to be getting on the bike path down across the water by the waterfront. So, and to go from Bay Street to East Lake, you know, either through that parking lot or on the sidewalk, which is separated by the cedars, feel a lot safer if I'm riding my bike that direction to go right down the middle of the parking lot so you can keep an eye on the cars and you'll have time to get out of the way if somebody's backing out. But if you go on that sidewalk, somebody could be walking out of that parking lot and you won't see them, you know, until they're right there. So that's my opinion.
Anyone else wish to speak to council? There's one hand up. Emily? Hello, Emily.
Hi there, Emily Meyerson, Petoskey. I was there last summer when you talked about this, and I sort of was surprised to see it back on the agenda because we were told it was sort of dead. But I do understand why you want to limit bicyclists in front of the businesses. And I support that ordinance as written because it continues to allow bikes through Pennsylvania Park. Not that Pennsylvania Park is an ideal place to bike. It is not. But right now, it's the only choice. And when we left in July, there was discussion about creating a way to get bikes from the downtown Greenway, the new part that you're just finishing now with realigning the trail on Howard Street over to Bay Street. And nothing to my knowledge has happened. So to just cut people off again is just not ideal. It isn't an ideal situation, but it's the only one. In the middle of the day in the summer, it's bad. But the truth is, if you're commuting, it's not about recreational riding. If you're commuting, that's the way you might go. You're going at 7 or 8 in the morning. You're going at times it's not busy. And so I support it as written. I understand why you don't want them in front of the businesses, but we need the ability to get across town. And it's not ideal. I'd like to see a better solution, but right now that's all we have. And it's just not realistic. I know people who don't bike a lot, just get off your bike and walk. But actually, if you bike, some of the hardest part about biking is getting on and off your bike. People with disabilities and limited movement really would have a hard time with that. It's very difficult. So not that they can't do it, but it's just not the behavior of bicyclists. And I just don't think that's a good solution to say you must do that. So maybe the first step is to just do this ordinance as written and limit the bicyclists in front of the businesses because those are huge safety issues, but allow them on the limited basis through Pennsylvania Park. And some of the safety issues you guys mentioned are sort of self-inflicted. Like the hedge is owned by the city of Petoskey. Maybe you cut the hedge back so you have better visibility. I mean, there are some things you can do to improve that safety. So I would just really encourage that. I'm glad you've changed it since last year. Please don't go back to the same one that you dropped from last year and move forward with what the city manager brought forward to you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, Maggie Crum. On our way here down tonight, there was a family I didn't recognize. They had a stroller, under 5 on a bicycle and under 5 on a scooter. And they were all on the sidewalk and they weren't causing problems for anybody. I know it's April and it's cold. While we're here during the meeting, I see lots of people using the sidewalks, using all forms of transportation, wheels and not wheels. In the city of Petoskey, living in town, it gets very congested and some of us get even a little bit tense thinking about the summer season coming up. But allowing and encouraging bicycles actually helps that problem. When we work downtown, when I get my groceries downtown, when I go shopping downtown, when I meet friends downtown, if I ride my bike or my scooter, I have both, I use the sidewalks because they're a lot safer than the street. When I am approaching people, I usually get off and walk around them. But I wouldn't do things that would discourage bicycles, because I think they solve a lot of other problems in town. And I would encourage the language to be friendly. I think even a sign or right next to the walk that said, please consider walking your bicycle if the sidewalk is congested, would go very far instead of trying to create new rules that would keep families and other people commuting off of the sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council? Mr. Knobtraub.
You know, you brought up a pretty good point. I was in Louisville very recently for a volleyball tournament, and we stayed downtown, and they had all those scooters, those little Uber scooters, and they're so cool. And my granddaughter talked me into doing it. And at 72 years old, I was running around with those scooters, and their big old sign says they're not allowed on sidewalks, but everybody was using them on sidewalks. And so I asked the enforcement guy, the cop that was there, and said, well, what's the scoop? And he said, well, technically, and this goes to the discretion rule, technically, you're not allowed to have these scooters on sidewalks. However, we also had someone get killed out on the street. Because there's a little bikeway on the little bike path on the street, and someone got killed, and it was a young one. And so they've decided their enforcement to only go after the abusers who are really zooming around, because most people that I saw there, this is Louisville, we're very different. They're very courteous in slowing down and even stopping when there's a lot of pedestrians. So I would hate for us to have an attitude that we don't want bikes either. So it would be, I'm really torn on how to do it, but I'm going to rely on my own personal attitude right now is do it with our changes. Like we said, restrict it, just what we're it seemed like we're doing, but I'm going to rely on Rocky and his team to be practical about it.
And we have bike patrol.
I support that also.
That are.
So anyone else wish to speak to council? There being none, this will come back up on Monday, 2 weeks from now. Thursday, excuse me, Thursday. For all those possibly attending. Thursday, I believe it's the 7th. Next is, oh, please.
Real quick point of clarification, it's coming back with the park reserve language back in. Is that my understanding?
Yes, I heard.
Thank you.
Next is the adoption of the proposed resolution that would designate location for the 2026 ward and city conventions. Who wants to take it away? Ms. Beck.
Well, this is annual housekeeping. Any questions? So there, I did confirm with Petoskey Schools compared to last year where there's a little hiccup. So as presented, ward conventions, Ward 1, City Hall Council Chambers, Ward 2, Ottawa Elementary Gym / cafeteria, which is available and I tentatively have it reserved. City Hall Community Room for Ward 3, and then Ward 4, Sheridan Elementary Gym / cafeteria. So the only, compared to our normal locations from the schools, Wards 2 and 4 are the only available because they're doing construction at the other locations. So
Lincoln's under construction.
indoors, yeah, they can't use,
Bummer.
not available for whatever reason. A lot of times they redo the floors in those, it's gym and cafeteria, so unless you guys have other recommendations of somewhere,
The community room. Right over there.
that would be mainly the main change is you, Joe, Ward 3. So Tina's in here in Ward 1, so the building will be unlocked at 8 PM, 7 PM. Unless you guys have other recommendations. And then city convention here, City Hall Council Chambers.
Okay.
Well, Great Lake Center for the Arts for Ward 3.
I would love it. I could get it.
If you can get it.
That would be
There's
a
a fee, you gotta.
Ward convention.
I can imagine if we had this
Theater.
or convention somewhere in Bay Harbor,
Political,
that would be a really good thing to do.
Unfortunately,
Welcome,
If,
I could find a spot in Bay
I
Harbor.
know for Ward 2, it's mostly, I don't think there's hardly a car there because everybody walks to it, so.
To Ottawa, of
All
course.
three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. 15.
More people. than
We got 50.
no, I mean, if
Okay,
you want a different location, I can find out and before the next meeting, but we should make a decision by May 7th, just so we can get it out online and then.
If you don't mind, let me do my little email out to my people and get their opinion. You know, there'd be no question, Bay Harbor, I could get spots in Bay Harbor. But the
That'd be
question is,
fine.
would that be practical for everybody else that's in the Ward 3 in the city?
Why not?
Depends on the entertainment.
I think it depends on the people that usually show up and
Yeah.
you're gonna hear yay or nay and
Your open bar.
Is it real political theater to get on the stage?
free boat ride
Buying
off
boats,
the
is that what you're
dock.
suggesting?
We'll hold Ward 2 there as well.
Thank you, Sarah
So-
Beck, for your due diligence. I think this looks great.
Right, but I'm hearing table
An
until
adoption
May 7th,
or
so you can get more feedback from Ward 3.
You know, because I wasn't there last year, because you did.
I
Meg.
did
So
it.
I'm not exactly sure that the people that are there, so I don't want to create an inconvenience. If they think it's an inconvenient to be here, they'd rather be somewhere else. I
So
don't
we
know.
do have time. So I would say May 7th, we would need to make a decision.
Okay.
So,
If I could just request a little bit of, so I can do a quick survey.
and just,
What-
would do
your-
my homework
what's
if
your-
I were you, because,
No, I don't want to go to Bay, I don't think Bay Harbor would be practical. I'm not suggesting that.
yeah, I don't know. You talk to your constituents, those people that show up, she's got a list of who shows up with the signatures or sign in on that time when I stepped in for you. I would ask them.
Okay.
I will say, just as a reminder, Ward 1, Ward 3, and the mayor are the candidacy, did I say that right? Spots on the November ballot. So there could be more attendance this year, but there very well might not be, because as usual, sometimes it is a low turnout.
It runs 15 to
So-
20 people.
And then just a reminder, those dates, Ward Convention is June 15th, which is in replacement of this council meeting. So there's no council meeting that evening. Wednesday, June 17th is City Convention, which would also be a planning commission meeting, but we've done this the last 2-3 years and it's worked out. So,
Yep. It starts at 8 o'clock. That's due to the charter. Otherwise, believe me, it would be 6 o'clock. But because it's charter, it says 8 and that's the rules. So we have to hold it at 8. I think I get 5 calls every year. Why can't you move it to 6 o'clock? Charter.
I hope that we're maintaining a list of charter revision items.
Sure. All right, next, then we wait to hear till the next meeting. Next, the adoption of proposed resolution that would authorize contracting with Executive Fence and Gate at a Byron Center for the dog park fence installation project, which I'm very excited about. I don't have a dog, however.
You don't
Your
have a
legacy
dog in this
project.
fight?
I have no dog and no fight.
He has a nephew.
I'll turn it over to. see what the-
Yeah, memo's pretty self-explanatory. We did bid this out. Unfortunately, the bids came back higher than what we had anticipated, shockingly. So we did get back with the low bid and made some tweaks and essentially moved from a 5-foot fence to a 4-foot fence. We took one of the gates out, and that did bring it down to under $50,000, which is where our budget was. And so that's where it's at currently. The low bid certainly has the ability to do this project and get it done timely. So
What's timely?
our recommendation is to proceed.
What is timely for this project?
The other concern that we're dealing with and working with, as you walk that Bear River corridor, you look above, you see some high voltage lines. Those will be buried. So we'd like to get those buried before the fence goes up. So we're working closely with Jason and his crew, electric crew, to get those lines buried before the fence goes up. We can do it with the fence up. It'd just be easier if the fence wasn't there. So we're still looking at early June, to have both those things done.
Oh,
Okay. Maybe usable.
Yeah, this summer, yeah.
This summer, sometime July.
Absolutely. Yes,
Do a ribbon cutting sometime in July for it.
yeah, sounds great.
I know I've walked by the grass the other day and it's getting greener, but it's sparse and Cars.
Yeah, we'll likely
deer
have to
thoroughfare.
overseed it again, yeah.
Top seated again, yeah.
The fencing will not keep out the deer, by the way.
Have a motion.
I was simply going to make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion, excuse me.
I have a motion from Mr. Wilmot, a second from Ms. Walker, but I call on Ms. Demore for a comment.
Yeah, just a question, because the range of bids here was pretty significant and then it looked like we value engineered. I wondered if we'd like reached out to get a reference on these folks that we're selecting.
Yeah, Kendall has called and done some background on them. They're very capable of doing this work. This is what they do, so.
The fence coated,
Yes,
it's coated,
black coated vinyl, yes.
so it isn't just your regular hard metal fence, it's.
And I don't have a dog either, but I mean, a 4-foot fence is good as opposed to a 5-foot fence. I
I mean,
don't know.
well, we prefer to have the 5 probably, but we're trying to get this in and around the budget, so.
$1 under.
So, yeah, that's the compromise, I guess, which we can still make that work.
Is it to keep dogs from like leaping over or?
I mean, yeah, some of the bigger dogs certainly can jump.
But I don't think,
It's unlikely.
Yeah.
For like definition.
Because the owner's gonna be there.
you guys, your dog is big, can it jump over a 4-foot fence?
Not in his dreams.
You can't either. If I had a dog, it wouldn't get up and jump over that either, I'm sure.
But your cat would.
Thank you.
That's what I'm bringing up next is we need a cat park because I have a cat and I feel
Oh,
left out.
cat cafe.
You're
I went and
discriminating
visited one.
against cats by doing this dog park. Okay.
I went to a cat cafe during Grand Rapids. Go visit him. Fun.
Okay, so I have, does anybody wish to speak to any more on public about this? There being none, I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Congratulations on the dog fence situation. Look forward to a July ribbon cutting and letting the dogs and the people run wild. Next city council comments. I'll start with Ms. Walker in Ward 4.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the privilege of attending the public meeting for the skate park. And let me tell you, the whole process with how we've approved the financing for the skate park and for the public process, it was an example of like doing it right. And so I hope that for the future, I see the same thing for our winter sports park as we move into our capital improvement plan and our 5-year plan for the winter sports park. Kendall did an incredible job of pulling people together that were skaters. And he was very confessional. He was like, I am out of my element. I don't know what I don't know. But he pulled together a great group of people, both in person, in the room, and with the consultant designer that we hired from California to design the skate park. And then there were young people online as well, contributing to the conversation. And it was wonderful to hear this designer talk, and he was totally California and absolutely all the skater terminology. At one point, he was like, this software is crushing me right now. And I was sitting in my kitchen just like totally gleeful and happy that this whole process was done. And it was a really good, feel-good opportunity. And you had people in the room that knew about skating. They knew about the previous park and what was good and what wasn't good. And they were really excited about this design. So kudos to Kendall and the group of young people and middle-aged people too that were contributing to the future skate park design. And I thought it was excellently done. So thank you so much.
Good. Mr. Knobtrab, Ward 3.
No comments.
Ward 2, Mr. Wilmot.
Just a couple of follow-up questions. Speaking of the skate park, what kind of a logistics track, development track is the skate park on at this time?
For completion and stuff.
As far as getting it in, probably fall.
Oh, okay, so it's sometime in 26.
Yeah, it's in the 26 budget. Yes.
Could you also potentially give us an update on the engineering and design work for the Epler Curve section of?
Just getting started. Surveying work has started.
Oh, it has?
Yes.
Okay. That's first step.
Yeah, so getting rid of the snow was a good leap for our surveyors that need to do the surveying, so. Yeah, we'll be meeting on a regular basis going forward with our partner OHM on this, so we're excited to see that project.
That's
move
great.
forward.
And my final question would be with regard to the negotiations with the public schools regarding the generator at the middle school.
Yeah, the mayor and I have a meeting set with Dr. Leslie and his team, remind me, Mayor, when is?
First week of May,
Yeah,
fourth,
we're
seventh.
meeting at the middle school to look at the site, walk the site. So we'll kind of have a better idea after that meeting.
Do we know if their enthusiasm for this project is tied to the millage at all?
No, I don't think it is, but I don't want to speak for them, but we were talking about this well before the millage discussion came out, so.
They're very positive about it. He worked in New Baltimore before he came here. They had generators in every one of their buildings for their schools and thought it was a great idea. We sat, had a meeting with him and said, let's start it. I know the talk was double what we thought it was, and the price looks like it's doable. 100,000, something like this. City would, we'll work with them on finance or whatever we have. It'd be, but my intention is that's ready for this coming winter. Because we don't want to go into another winter like we had here. There was some fear of ice storms again this year, snows, and so we need to have that as a backup. Shane spent many nights. I spent a night here sitting with people sleeping underneath tables here, no showers, bringing in, I mean, things of sloppy joes and buns brought in, food to feed the people. And that middle school would be unbelievable. You'd have showers, you'd have a gym for kids, you'd have art, you'd have rooms to sleep in, cafeteria, the whole works would be available for the city's people. And if it went it went 5 days here and we needed 5 days someplace else. My hat's off to the city manager and his wife, Michelle, who basically lived here. You
Well,
did.
They'll be hosting.
Stepped up.
Yeah.
Be hosting us at the middle school, I would hope. And your sloppy joes will be available at the middle school too, I would hope.
50 pounds of sloppy joes again to bring me, yes. It helped heat my house was the stove was on so much. It didn't make it warmed me. Anything else?
Yeah,
No.
me.
Ward 1, Demore.
First of all, thank you for the reminder of the May 7th meeting because I would have been here on May 4th. I just want to let you know that 2 female members of the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council went down to the Capitol Conference, the Michigan Municipal League Capitol Conference. And for the first time, to my knowledge, in the history of the Capitol Conference, those 2 students were allowed to present with me to more than 100 elected officials in a breakout session on the topic of youth movement, getting students engaged in local government. And it was extremely well received, so much so that we've had outreach from other communities in the state wanting to visit and see what we're doing in our meetings, but also very interestingly, from other youth advisory councils who are interested to kind of brainstorm with our students here about things we're doing and they're doing and what changes and that sort of thing could happen. So on May 18th, just a reminder that the Youth Advisory Council students will be here to make a presentation, their end of the year presentation to the council to let you all know what they've been doing this year.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm always impressed. I think when I first elected mayor here quite a few years ago, you guys weren't here, and it's fun to see how council can change, and yet the people of Petoskey elect good people that are independent thinking, but yet can come together as we have to make decisions for the best of the whole community. And my hat's off, and I love working with you guys, and I appreciate what you bring to the table, your thoughts, your energy, and you're reaching out to your constituents. So again, thank you for what you do, and I sure appreciate it, and I know staff does as well. So no further business coming before this council. I call this meeting adjourned.